Hello, and welcome back to My Artist Friend. This is the podcast about the artist behind the art. We have another solo episode today because it is the first day of April, so that makes it a Snart day. If you don't know what Snart is by now, it's a project we've been doing all year. It's basically a combination of snack and art, and it's an activity that I decided to do with my kid last year, and we have continued into this year with a little bit more organization. So in January, we did collage. That was our theme. I'll link the episodes below so you can listen to those and get ideas from them. February was ceramics. And we went to a ceramic throwing class. We did paint your own ceramics, stuff like that. And last month was photography, and we ended up getting some disposable cameras. I got out all of my old cameras, but they were a little bit suspect. The digital ones needed to be charged. It was kind of a mess. So we did disposable cameras. We went on a little walk. We still need to develop the film. We're very loosey-goosey here, okay? The intention is set, so if we have some time, if we don't know what to do, if we want to have an activity, then we can kind of fall back on Snart, which is kind of how it's been. We haven't done a ton of stuff this year, but the intention is there, and that's what matters. So this month, the Snart theme is paper mache, or if you're in England and France, papier mache. Or if you're in Mexico, it is cartoneria. So sorry. I'm so sorry. I never took Spanish, but it's amazing. I'll talk more about that in a minute. But I'm excited for paper mache as the theme because I've started getting the newspaper instead of scrolling news apps on my phone, which has been really great for my mental health, but I have so much newspaper. So it's prime for crafting. And I thought it was like a super accessible kind of thing. I was mulling over some other stuff, and when I think about what to do for Snart, especially if other people are going to be participating, I want it to be something that is an art that's accessible. Like you don't have to buy too much to get into it. And with paper mache, it's paper, newspaper, recyclables, anything really. You can use cardboard for frames, and you can use cornstarch and water, or flour and water, or glue and water. Like there are lots of different recipes, but it seems like a very accessible kind of craft that you can do a lot with. So I thought that sounded like fun. And really there's like no limit to what you can make. You can make so much stuff. You can't do like food safe things. I wouldn't recommend anything that you would put food in, but everything else is pretty much fair game, So I think that's pretty fun. So let's get into it. When I do these Snart episodes, I break it down by artists for inspiration, books for inspiration. So you can go to the library and find some fun stuff. Activities to do, that's like actual activities to get you out of the house and doing things, and then projects to make. So let's get into it. Okay, so the very first person I thought of when I thought of paper mache, and this will absolutely show my age, and that's totally fine, is Stephen Hansen. So you might not recognize his name, but I had to do some Googling to figure him out. But there was an episode of Reading Rainbow years ago, and it was this guy who did these big like people sculptures. They were like caricatures of people, a lot of businessmen, and it was very like 80s, early 90s kind of aesthetic. But I loved Reading Rainbow so much, and those big paper mache sculptures really made an impact on me. It was in the episode with the story of the purple coat. So if you want to look it up, I think it's season 6, episode 5, because I was doing a little bit of research yesterday. But these paper mache things were so cool. They were so big. They're like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 feet tall. And they were just these caricatures of people going about their day in kind of exaggerated ways. And it was really cool because I used to live near Washington, D.C. So I would go to the museums, the Smithsonian, all the time because they're free. And I was at the American Museum of Art. It might have been the American History Museum. I forget. But they were there, like the dudes from Reading Rainbow, the actual caricature paper mache things. They were kind of like tucked away by a staircase, if I remember. And like people were just walking by, and I'm like, but this is a core memory. It's right here in front of me. I thought it was really great. But that's the first thing I thought of when I thought of like big sculptural paper mache projects, was that Reading Rainbow, which is why Reading Rainbow is essential and wonderful, and I want it to come back. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So I was looking up other paper mache artists, and again, forgive my pronunciation, please. But there is a woman named Gemma Ticogna, I think it might be. It's an Italian name. She made these amazing like busts and kind of portraits where she would make a form out of paper mache and then paint it. So it was like this beautiful bust sculpture, but like you could also use it as a hat stand. Like it's this perfect kind of mesh of form and function, craft and fine art to me. They're so beautiful. I'm going to have links down for everyone, but her work is so pretty and you can still buy it. Like there are people with stuff on eBay that you can get. She worked in clay too. She worked in other mediums, but I really liked the paper mache stuff that she made. And I love the use of like the form and then painting on it. You know, it's not just like the giant sculpture in paper mache. It's the vision that can go on top of it too. So you're mixing mediums, and I think it's really fun. And then recently, since I joined Substack, I found this artist. Her page is called Corey Beth Makes, and she does a ton of paper mache stuff. And she makes these beautiful urns. She makes these beautiful plaques. She paints on them too. So her pattern work is really beautiful. She sells patterns because she uses cardboard as kind of the base. And she'll cut the cardboard in a way that she can make it curved like an urn, and tape things together so she can have these shapes and forms on top of each other, and then does the paper mache on top and then paints them. And it is absolutely gorgeous. So definitely check her out. Now, when I went looking for books, I like to start with bookshop.org. A lot of the paper mache books were on back order there. Some of them look expensive on bookshop.org, but then you like kind of scroll down and then you can see like these indie shops selling them for a lot less. There's also thriftbooks.com, and my favorite, the library. Especially when you're doing monthly crafts and with a kid and you're not sure if they're going to get into it or if you're going to like it. I think doing the library for this is great, because if they end up loving it and you end up wanting to keep the book for a reference, you can buy it later. But you know, if your kid's not into it, then you can just kind of let it go, give it back to the library, move on to the next thing. So I found a book called Paper Mache, The Ultimate Guide to Learning How to Make Paper Mache Sculptures, Animal, Wildlife, and More. I mean, what more could you want? I was like, this sounds perfect. And that's by Andrea Gundrum. I'll always have links down below. Go for it. But that one I was like, okay, done and done. I feel like that probably has a bit of everything. And then I was peeking through, and there's another one that's called Paper Mache, A Step-by-Step Guide to Creating More Than a Dozen Adorable Projects by Sarah Hand. And the cover of that book is so cute. Like her style of making it had these little animals, like look like little deer. They're so precious. They're very cool. I'm going to want to get that one just for sure. I want that book in my home. It looks really cute. And then there's another one that looked really fun. I feel like I've seen this book before. I don't know if it's at the library or I don't know where I saw it, but it's called Paper Mache Masks by Jane Yates. And it's specifically for kids, and it's just how to make a paper mache mask. And they are wild on the cover, and it looks like a lot of fun. Now, I've also included my friend Jennifer Perkins, who is the crafting queen. She has a couple of blog posts about paper mache. So she's got a paper mache bowl craft and like a marbled paper mache where she colored the actual paper and made this really cool effect. So I've got those linked as well. And then if you're looking for just a big resource for paper mache that's a website, there's actually papiermache.co.uk. That's paper with an I. for us uncultured Americans. And that one's got tons of articles and projects and recipes. And it's like anything you want to know about paper mache is there. So there are lots of resources out there. There are lots of different recipes too. So just do some Googling around, see if you have glue, go for that. If you have flour, cornstarch, whatever you want to use, you can use whatever is most accessible to you and whatever feels the best. Because I do remember when I used to do paper mache as a kid, it was kind of a sensory nightmare for me. It's just so wet and gloopy. So I will be using gloves when I do mine, just for my own brain and nervous system. But there are lots of different ways to make it. So check out these resources, see how they make their paste, and see what kind of paper they use, and just see what works for you. Maybe try out a few different ones and then go from there. All right, now we are moving on to activities. So number one, see if a museum near you has a paper mache exhibit. That might be harder to find than like clay or collage or photography, but give it a look, because the second thing you should do is take a minute to learn about the La Cartoneria, the traditional Mexican paper art. A lot of the Day of the Dead iconography. There are just lots of sculptures. It's just a big kind of cultural, traditional folk art form in Mexico, and it's absolutely beautiful. The use of color and sculpture in their work is absolutely gorgeous. I have a YouTube video down below that kind of explains the art form and how they use it and how it's different from kind of traditional Western paper mache. And they use flour specifically, and there's a lot of layering. The pieces are so smooth and they're just absolutely gorgeous. So definitely take a minute to learn about that. Maybe see if there are some books about that as well. But this video down below is very cool to see. And the only other thing I could think of for kind of an activity is just to gather together. So if you have a friend who wants to get into it with you, if you have like a group of kids who wants to have a play date, doing it together sounds amazing, because that is only one mess that we have to clean up. Because it is messy. You can really like make a spot, put down some stuff on your table so nothing gets messy, get your smocks out, get your gloves on if you need to, and just go to town and work together, because it's really fun. You can make something big together as one big piece, and you can make individual things based on stuff. You can make pieces of a whole. There are so many things you can do when you get together with somebody. And I really like the idea of sharing the mess because it is going to be a mess. Okay, now we're getting to project ideas. I put them in kind of buckets this time. I tried to organize them a little bit, but I got really excited. I have my morning journal, and I did a whole podcast about my journaling madness, and I worked out this morning just all the different projects that I wanted to do. And it was just a big old brain dump, and I got really stoked. So you can make jewelry. What kind of jewelry can you make? You could do dangle earrings. Paper mache is perfect for that because they're really light. You could do brooches, get a little pin back and glue it on to whatever brooch you want to do. And that could be a flat brooch that's just painted. You could just do an oval shape and paint whatever you want. You can make it sculptural. You can make it, 3D if you want. You can do all kinds of things. You can make pendants as well. Again, that would be super light. You can make your own charm necklace, which would be really fun, or add a paper mache charm to your current necklace that maybe you have something clay that you made a couple months ago, and add a paper mache charm to it. You can also just make beads out of paper mache. Have a little skewer, make it around the skewer so there's a hole in the bead, and you can do so much. I love how light it is and how you can paint it to make it whatever you want. So jewelry is a great thing to do with paper mache. And there are also a lot of like home things you can make. You can just do a wall hanging. You know how people have those really fun like like fish or mermaids or like starbursts and stuff like that. You could do that with paper mache. Stick it up on your wall along with your gallery wall and have something cool and kind of 3D on there. You can do frames. That's something that Corey Beth was doing. She was researching different types of frames and making a cardboard base and then paper mache around it and then paint it in a decorative way. How fun is that? I love that idea so much. You could do mobiles if you want to just have something cool hanging in your window. You can do a mobile, like a Calder style something. I think that would be kind of fun. And in the vein of Gemma, who I mentioned earlier, you could do a bust. You could do like a sculpture of someone. You could do a form and then paint their faces on it. You could do a whole series of them for your family. Make one of each of everybody. You can make them of your pets. I think that would be really fun. There are also vases and urns. So you can use cardboard as kind of a frame, just like Corey Beth does, and go from there. Definitely check out her templates because that would be a great place to start. And then you can kind of iterate and do your own thing from there. My first thought was, trinket dishes, bowls. I love a trinket dish, little ring dish, you can make a little point coming out for your rings. I think that'd be super fun. Paint it, make it cute. There can be a lot of glitter involved as well. I think that's always a good idea. There are also like platters. You can do just a large platter. You can hang it on the wall. If you want, you could use it as a catch-all. Or specifically, you could do like make your own mail bin, almost like a little basket, and paper mache, draw on it, scalloped edges, around the top, something like that. So something cute can kind of contain your mail or like your kids' art, kids' schoolwork, stuff like that to kind of keep everything contained. I think I need to make one for our mail too. Ooh, you could also make one that can like hang on the wall. You know how they make those file folders that kind of come out from the wall a little bit at an angle? You can make one like that. That would be really fun. I'm really cute. I need to do something with a scalloped edge. I got to figure that out. Anyway, also, you can make a paper chain. Like, every year at Christmas time, we make memory chains. That's what my mom calls them, where it's the interlocking paper chain circles, but you write down like a favorite Christmas memory on it, and it's always red and green. But if you do something similar like that with paper mache, then you don't have to make one every year, and you could just kind of add to it and have one across the years. You know what I mean? And even if you just want something to like a little garland, you could make a scalloped garland. You could make a big kind of beaded bracelet looking garland out of paper mache. There's no limit to you could make one that looks like actual leaves. You could paper mache little leaves and have garlands all over. You could do holly leaves with teeny little like holly berries at Christmas time. Okay. I'm excited. Anyway. Those are the home kind of decor things that I thought of. And then it goes a little bit off the rails, a little more extreme with the art pieces I was thinking of, because I follow a home run ballerina. I think her name is Audrey. I mentioned her in my last newsletter because I follow her mainly for fashion because I love her style. It's very bright and colorful and looks very comfy. But she made a giant Ticonderoga pencil out of paper mache. I don't know why, but I love it's amazing. I don't know why she did it, but I'm glad she did because I was like, well, I want to make a giant pencil. Like, what if I made a giant pink eraser just because I wanted it sitting in a corner? You know what I mean? Like, so I was like, okay, well, I do love my giant strawberry table. So I could just make a giant strawberry just to put in my house. You know what I mean? So make like giant food, a big old banana sitting on a shelf. Kidding me? I want giant food in my house. I think that's hilarious and wonderful. And like big old stationery items. What if you just like a big old, remember those like scissors from elementary school in like the 80s and 90s that were just silver and they had the little round where your fingers went in and they cut you like they hurt so bad when you tried to use them? That would look really cute as like a big thing. I love the idea of a giant stationery item. Now that I've seen that pencil, I'm like, well, I need something. You can make it like a pencil cup. You could do like a normal size pencil cup, but maybe like a giant size pencil cup. You know what I mean? And maybe you could use it as like an umbrella holder if it's sturdy enough. That's the thing, because it is paper, so it's got to be heavy enough. So maybe you could put something on the bottom that makes it a little heavier. Anyway, I digress. Clearly, I'm getting really stoked about this. I want to make stuff in paper mache. Okay, so giant stationary items. You could do big old animals. Like I mentioned before, you could make your pets in paper mache. It might freak them out a little bit. Make sure they're okay with it. My cats don't like another cat. We have a little bub stuffed animal that meows, and our cats are very wary of her. But you can also do like big old portraits of people. Like you make your small busts, maybe you could make a bigger bust, a life-size bust of, your significant other or your best friend or your kid. It would be fun. Turn it into like a glasses holder, you know what I mean? Like put your sunglasses on them all the time. I think it'd be fun. And you can also do you don't have to go huge. You could just do smaller little sculptures of whatever your heart desires, like art toys and things like that. You could do the same thing, make a bunch of the same thing and paint them different colors. You know what I mean? You could make fan art of your favorite, TV show or video game or book or something like that. You can also just make books. You could do paper mache versions of your book. You can make a little box. Oh, that's what I could do. Y'all, I've been meaning to we have remotes all over the place, right? Like everybody. And I really wanted to have like a hideaway book situation. Now they make some that you can buy at like Michael's and things, which might be easier. But I like to make things difficult and take longer than expected. So I want to make a little box that hides my remotes, but make it look like some of my favorite books. I think that would be so cute. Oh, I love that idea. Okay. Anyway, if I don't end this podcast now, I will keep talking about this. I'm really excited. Can you tell? I'm very glad that I have copious amounts of newspaper to work with, and I want to get started. It's so exciting. I love Snart Day, y'all. Okay, so I'm going to cut myself off. That is the end. I will have links down below to everything, as always. Please give me a follow over on Instagram. I am at the Becky Helms if you want to say hey. I haven't been posting over there as much, but I want to. Again, I say that every week. I feel like it's just energy level. How much time I have to put into everything. But I'm also over on Substack. That's where the podcast is hosted. And all the detailed show notes will be there, but they'll also be on YouTube as well. And you can find me in you know where to find me. You know how to tap around your phone, please. I don't need to tell you what to do. So anyway, I'm excited for Snart. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate everyone who listens all the way through. It boggles my mind that anyone even listens to this still. So you are amazing. I appreciate you. Okay, I love you. Bye.